It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles.
Welcome in. Happy Saturday, everyone. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles alongside Alex White. Happy to be with you this morning. Alex, how you doing?
Doing good, thank you. But I need this football season to slow down. I feel like it
Agreed.
is flying by.
Well, you know, it's just one of those, like, we wait all year, like, as soon as the Super Bowl ends, we wait the 6+ months, and then we blink our eyes, and we're almost at the end of October.
I know.
Legitimately, the next to last Saturday of October in college football. Don't worry. A whole slate of college football to get to today, though.
Yes,
we still
we
have a few more weeks of the full slates in college football. The NFL, week 7, we're only a third of the way through. We got plenty of time
Yes,
still left
plenty of
in this football season. Now, Vinny Magliulo will join us a little bit later. Get everything from the book. Danny Burke, who we saw on the show on Thursday, also will be with us a little bit later in the show. So we're looking forward to that as well. All right, let's get into it. Rotation order, as always, here. Alex, Pitt and Wake Forest. Pitt and Wake Forest, a horrible game on paper. But if you have a bet on it, you can at least watch it and enjoy it. South Point has Wake Forest 1. The rest of the market has Pitt right now.
Okay, so that makes sense to me because I did jump on Pittsburgh +1. I didn't look at the money line. I should have, but Wake Forest, they're down to the third string quarterback, winless in conference games. I can understand why people would be a little worried. Pitt, they took down an undefeated Louisville team. Could be a little bit of a letdown. But when you look at that game, it was more Pittsburgh's defense, and I think that can be sustained. They created 5 fumbles for Louisville, and Jack Plummer was picked off twice in that one. So I'm looking at the defense here with Pittsburgh.
Neither of these teams are any good. I'm stunned. Look, it just shows how much Sam Hartman meant to this Demon Deacon team that he leaves. They're 3-3. They played Clemson tough a few weeks ago and then got destroyed last week in Blacksburg, a team you can't be getting destroyed by this year in Va Tech. This is one of those where I just stayed out of it. I don't really blame your play on this. Pitt coming off that big win a week ago against Louisville. This total feels a little high, though, that I will say, at 45.5 on this one. Again, this is a 3:30 Eastern game there in Winston-Salem. All right, you know what? That was just the appetizer. It happened to be first in the rotation numbers. We have to get to it. This is the real event. This is the one that everyone's been waiting for this week. The noon Eastern game, all college game day, big noon Saturday. Everyone's there in Columbus. Ohio State, Penn State, a game that will set the course for what the Big Ten East ends up being this year, Alex. And right now, behind us, it's the only 4.5 in the market. Everyone else has gone back to 4 this morning. Ohio State, of course, favored in this one. Total is right where it opened and moved around to get back to 46. Went down to 45 at the bottom. Now back to 46 here at the South Point. Rest of the market on this one also sitting at 46, except for one chop that's at 46.5. Alex, you have Ohio State in the moneyline parlay today. That's the way you decided to play this one.
Yes, and the more I dove into this game, if we have time, I would jump on Ohio State -4. I think they cover here.
Okay.
A lot of sharps there on the under, and I think that makes sense as well. So the big factor here is Penn State has been very good against the pass. Actually, number 1 in the country in opponent yards per pass, holding opponents to 4.9. But when you look at who they have played, just in their Big Ten games, Illinois averaged 7.2 yards per pass, 79th in the country. Iowa, 5.1, 129th. And Northwestern, 6 yards per pass, 112. Now you have this Ohio State team who is actually 13th in yards per pass, averaging 9.3. So I think we're going to see Ohio State be successful throwing the ball here. I know a lot of people are not big on Kyle McCoy, but he's already been in a big pressure game, went down to South Bend, got that win, however they did, but they got it. And I trust him more here in this situation.
So I've said this all week on the show. This game fully comes down to the quarterback play. You mentioned McCord. On the other side is Drew Aller, who Penn State, this is the biggest quarterback recruit they've ever had. Their best quarterback, at least from the way that Penn State has felt about a quarterback since Hackenberg. Obviously, we know that didn't work at the next level, but different discussion on that. But this is a very different spot than Aller's been put in this year because the road games that they played against lower opponents, not hostile environments. You're going to arguably the most hostile environment in college football today. 100,000 at the shoe, an Ohio State team that is every bit as good as power rated. I know Vinny and Chris have both Ohio State in the top 3 right now.
Absolutely.
They are really good, even though, again, there are questions about Kyle McCord. I lean to taking points here. The one concern now is that, again, 4.5, obviously, if you have the money in the South Point account, or you can get down here before it moves to 4. Go ahead. There were 5s earlier in the week. 5, obviously, we know is a dead number, but having the 5 instead of a 4 does make a difference, of course. But in the end here, this is probably going to be one of those games where someone commits a gigantic turnover and it turns the game on its head. It's just a matter of which one of these young quarterbacks makes the mistake in this game. I would lean towards it being McCord, but in the end, it is just tough place to play. It wouldn't shock me if Ohio State wins a field goal game here.
It's really tough. I have their home field advantage 5.5.
Is that the biggest in the country?
It's right up there. It is. And I really wanted to be on Penn State before I did my adjustments last week, looking ahead to this game, circled it. I thought for sure I would be taking the points with Penn State, but my numbers don't say it. And then as I mentioned, as I dove into it, I am on Ohio State.
Buckeyes, 4 in this one, 46 the total across the board right now for this one as we are getting closer to kick in Columbus for that one. All right, let's go to one that I know you're on as well. Miami and Clemson. So Miami's coming off back-to-back losses. Just the ridiculous loss 2 weeks ago to Georgia Tech. A little more traditional last week. North Carolina handled their business. Miami still looked like a team that was hungover from having as bad of a loss that anyone has had all year with the fashion that it happened. Alex, this opened 2.5 behind us. It got as high as 4. Now back to 3. Clemson laying it in South Beach. 48.5 the total at the open, 47.5 for now as it's been sitting for actually the last 15 minutes. This total just went down to 47.5.
I jumped in. I'm at Miami plus 3.5. I know there's question marks about the coach. I know he worries you, but I don't trust Clemson. I mean, they don't really have explosive plays. They haven't really done a whole lot this year. Miami, like you said, 0-2 in the ACC right now, so they desperately need a win here. I think it'll be a close game.
You know, this is one of those where I don't like this Clemson team. I'm not a fan of them. I don't think Klubnik's that good. Their coaching staff, and this is the thing with Dabo, where he is as good of a motivator as there is in college football. And he's a great recruiter, especially at the peak. That's why they won their titles. That's why they had multiple-time national champion there in Clemson. But since his coordinators left, Tony Elliott, of course, is at Virginia now, and we know Venables has done a really nice job at Oklahoma this year.
Right.
It's not the same. The coaching staff's not as good behind him, and I think he needs an elite coordinator duo behind him in order to succeed at a high level. I'm with you on Miami. Now we're at 3. I don't really want to take the 3 when I could have had 3.5 and 4 earlier in the week. But I'm going to probably stay off of this right now at the 3. Wait in game. If we get a scenario in game,
yes,
where Clemson gets up 7-0, and I'm going to be getting that 4.5, 5 maybe live that I was getting earlier in the week, then I probably would look at that.
Definitely, and you said it perfectly. They have suffered on both sides of the football. Their defense, Clemson, has been good this year, very good, but again, offensively, I haven't really seen a whole lot from them and the lack of explosive plays.
Right now, 3 on this one. Miami, the dog, at home against Clemson. All right, you know, we were going through the games when he walked in, Alex, and you just can't help yourself with this one. It's a battle of two teams that aren't any good in Atlanta and the ACC, Boston College and Georgia Tech. It's up to 6, so the bettors are with you on this position here. As low as 4.5, up to 6 on the Yellow Jackets at home, 57 a total against the Eagles.
Give me Georgia Tech here, minus 4.5. Yellow Jackets are coming off a bye. We just talked about them beating Miami we know that that was very lucky for them to win that game. But now they're playing a Boston College team. You already said it, not very good, giving up 111 points, average of 37 a game. Their only 2 FBS wins were over Virginia and Army, and those were very close games. So I'm doing it again. I'm going with the Yellow Jackets. If you kind of mentioned this about another team off air, and we'll get to that, but now that they got that win over Miami, a win here, a very likely win over Virginia coming up, and one more, they could be bowl eligible for the first time since 2018.
It's I will say with Boston College, where we've seen a whole bunch of different versions of Boston College this year. They're 3-3. Both these teams are 3-3. You had the Boston College team that went on the road as a short underdog at Army and won outright. You have a team that almost beat Florida State. Florida State in a lot of trouble there in that game in Chestnut Hill. Some turnovers, some penalties. In the end, bad team's going to bad team, and the good team survived. But then you have the Boston College team that has lost at home to Northern Illinois, that should have lost to FCS Holy Cross, that was annihilated in Louisville a few weeks ago.
Yep.
It's just one of those where if I knew what I was getting out of Boston College, I actually might take the 6. But the problem is you're getting a team that is not that good and wildly inconsistent. That's a very bad mix for betting on a team. So this is a big time stay away for me, because also too, it's Georgia Tech team. I don't think they're any good either. The team that was blasted by Bowling Green at home just 2 short weeks ago. All right, let's go to the Big 12 next. You and I were talking about this one before. The market just moved fully here. Chris and company in the back. Moving on this one. Baylor at Cincinnati, noon East kick. The new Big 12 teams so far this year, BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida, have only combined for 2 conference wins so far. The only 2 games that they've won, BYU beat Cincinnati, and Houston had the miracle last week on the Hail Mary against West Virginia. So could very easily be one, and it was them beating themselves.
Right. Been tough for them. It really has.
Not been good. Cincinnati's a 3-point favorite. I was a little shocked with how this game got bet this week. And I know Baylor has looked bad, and they've looked real bad. Their only win in conference play was against Central Florida, that miracle. They were down 4 touchdowns. They came back and won the game by a point. Alex has touched 3.5. It's now back to 3 across the board. I actually like Baylor outright here. So I think I would just forego the 3 now that the hook is gone everywhere,
right,
and just take a short money line price on Baylor. I think they're going to win this game outright in Cincinnati, who if the loser of this game is going to be power rated last in the Big 12 for me after this week, assuming Houston doesn't get demolished by Texas, which is a big if.
Right, that definitely is. But I agree with you. I made this game a pick. I stayed away from it instead of jumping on the 3.5. I missed that, but I thought I was missing something. I was very confused on why Cincy was a 3-point favorite, and then to see that line actually move. Bears are coming off a bye, extra rest, and we know that their quarterback, Blake Shapen, he needed that extra rest.
Battling that knee injury.
Injury, right? So, yeah, I would definitely be on Baylor in this one.
If Cincinnati beats me, so be it. I mean, that's kind of what it is. This Bearcat offense has been brutal recently. Emory Jones has really not been up to the part. Again, these are 2-4 teams. Tongue-tied myself there. But you got bad football teams. Anything's in play in this game. And, of course, since he's coming off getting blasted at home last week by Iowa State,
yes,
who was also a bigger underdog than expected, and that game wasn't even competitive last week at home against the Clones. All right, I want to hit 2 more here before our guy Vinny Maliulo gets in studio here. Michigan State, of course, everyone abuzz with this sign-stealing scandal potentially with the analyst at Michigan. They go on the road, a rivalry game at East Lansing. Alex, Michigan State last week had one of the more ridiculous losses you're ever going to see, blowing a 3-score lead to Rutgers. Still covered, though.
Right.
Still covered all numbers because Rutgers botched the PAT that would have got the push. But this one now, Alex, so behind us is the market low on this game, 24. The rest of the market right now is 24.5. There's even a rogue 25 out there. I can't get there on Michigan State. I just can't. This is not one of those where I would lay it with Michigan. they finally are starting to destroy teams and covering big numbers like they were not early in the year where they're kind of sleepwalking. But I just can't get there on the Spartans. This wouldn't shock me if this ends 31-3 and you don't get there because Michigan State just can't score in this game.
I completely agree. I can't get there with Michigan State. Michigan is my highest rated team right now at number 1. So I really think they figured it out. Like you said, starting to really kill teams covering. They also are the second slowest team in FBS right now. They are taking their time, 31.9 seconds per play. You know, they control the game. They control the pace. They do what they want. They get these wins. I know it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, but I'm with you. Stay away. I can't lay 24, but I don't feel confident taking it with Spartans.
Yeah, I really, like, when going through the beginning of the week, really looked at this and like, all right, I'm probably going to end up on Michigan State by game time. We're not getting, like, 25 is going to be the peak here. And there's not much of a difference between 24.5 and 25.
Right.
28-3 would be the one, which actually is a reasonable final score. But can't do it. Can't do it. Spartans are just that bad. And Michigan, it could take out a lot. It could go one of two ways this week with them. They could be sloppy. They could be sleepy because of everything that's happened. Or they could just come out and pummel Michigan State from the get-go. Of course, this was also the weird game last year where there was the fight in the tunnel as well.
Yes.
A lot of stuff going on off the field with this matchup. All right. The game you're on here, Alex. Big 12, Oklahoma State, West Virginia. West Virginia lost in just ridiculous fashion a week ago on that Hail Mary to Houston in a game that they probably shouldn't have had a shot to win anyway. The 50-yard touchdown on 4th and 20 to even get that game to West Virginia lead late. Oklahoma State looked like their season was cooked. And all they've done since getting blasted by South Alabama is beat both Kansas State and Kansas back-to-back as home underdogs. They're now 4-2. Nice little turnaround here for Gundy midseason. West Virginia laying 3, though, Alex, and the total has been the thing that's been hit in this game, down to 48 on this one.
I definitely think that is the right move for the total moving down. I am on West Virginia -3.
Mm-hmm.
You just mentioned Oklahoma State overachieved the last 2 weeks. I was on them at home that Friday game, Kansas State. I thought it was a great spot. Last week, I had nothing with that one. Shocked to see them win outright against Kansas. I do think Gundy found the right quarterback.
Agreed.
Has the right quarterback in place. But as you mentioned, West Virginia coming off a terrible loss. I think they get right in this one. They're at home. They've been much better at home. Neil Brown, he's done a really good job with this team. So going with West Virginia.
West Virginia was one of those teams where I thought that they were going to be lucky to win 5 games this year. And right now, they win today, they'll get to 5. And they have all the bad teams left in the Big 12 on that schedule remaining. Central Florida, BYU, Cincinnati, Baylor. If they had not lost that game last week, we could have been talking about something very strange and potentially West Virginia making the Big 12 title game. Now they have an uphill battle because Texas wins out. West Virginia's now winning in Norman in a few weeks. They would need some help in order to get there. But 10-2 is in, or 9-3 is in play, which would be a heck of a season for a team that had a win total sub-6 coming into the year.
Absolutely.
So West Virginia 3, and that is the play for Alex in this one against Oklahoma State. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, the best hair in the business, Hall of Famer Vinny Magliulo joins us next on Sports by the Buck.
If you're celebrating a special occasion or just love fine dining, you're in the right place. Come experience the crown jewel of South Point restaurants, Michael's Gourmet Room.
Welcome.
With over 600 different types of wines and magnificent dishes prepared tableside, you'll revel in the rich classic Vegas decor and the best black tie service in the world. This intimate gourmet room has earned accolades galore. Come to Michael's Gourmet Room for an unforgettable dining experience. Another famous restaurant is the Silverado Steakhouse, where you'll find the charm and service that discerning patrons require. From top quality steaks and chops to fresh seafood and desserts, you'll love the award-winning wine list and menu at Silverado Steakhouse. Steak lovers have even more options with primarily prime rib. Catering to hearty appetites, the menu features a variety of flavorful prime rib cuts, dry aged to ensure tenderness, and then seasoned and slowly roasted. Although prime rib is our specialty, it's not the only thing on the menu. There's something for everyone. And if you're craving a taste of Italy, come experience delicious Italian cuisine and the attentive service at Don Vito's. Our culinary team starts with the freshest ingredients and transforms them into traditional favorites. And don't forget Italian desserts. Don Vito's. Savor the taste of Italy. Finally, if sushi is more your style, join us at the popular Zenshin Asian restaurant and sushi bar, where we're serving up the freshest sashimi, nigiri, and sushi rolls. And beyond the sushi, an exciting contemporary Asian cuisine menu. Plus a variety of specialty drinks, Japanese and domestic beer, wine, and sake. Balance your hunger with Zenshin.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles. Alex White's here as well. Oh, look who joined us.
That's right.
How are you, Vinny?
15 minutes, and there's no control. Obviously, what happened, Alex, with the
Well,
Penn State Ohio State comment? You know, you got Chrissy. Chrissy got a little upset. I tried to calm him down back there. You know, we have that.
Look at this. Look at
him.
Look at that. Look
Very-
at Chris Andrews.
Very serious man.
See, Alex, you made it through 20 minutes. Good job.
Yeah.
It was a hell of a run. But regardless, I mean, look at Chris, all decked out. Well, he had the Penn State tie yesterday on the
Yeah,
show. Now he's
yeah.
got the hat and
Yeah.
and the polo.
Yeah.
Well, I'll ask you this, Vinny.
Yeah.
Is it more than just fandom for Chris Andrews today?
Yeah,
Is the book
good
rooting
question.
for Penn State in this one against
You know,
Ohio
it's
State?
interesting, and we were just chatting back there, Chris and I, and he was on the verge of going right back to 4. But actually, there's two-way action right now, so 4.5 is where the game sits. And you know, now not saying that it can't go back at some point, but I can tell you right now that there's a pretty good two-way action, and it wouldn't shock me though if there is a little bit more support for the Nittany Lions, but based on the number, right? Just grabbing the hook, because it's not. I don't think it's going to go higher. So more likely to go down than up.
In my defense, I heard Chris on Frank's show. He gave a rundown of his top 10 power-rated teams. I have Penn State higher than he does on my list, but
Don't you worry, Alex. He'll be all right. Don't you worry. He'll be all right. I can tell you this. When I leave the studio today, it'll be okay.
Vinny's going to bat for you.
You'll be here tomorrow. I can assure you. Don't you
I
worry.
would hope so.
And you
for
know,
the sake of the show.
Chrissy loves you so.
So, Vinny, I just want to go through a few things real quick, and these are a few games that Alex has as well, and also some movers. A noon East, 9 a.m. game, Service Academy game, Commander-in-Chief matchup, Air Force and Navy.
Yeah.
So I got the good number. I got 36 earlier in the week, bet it under. Now, Vinny, there was actually some over money that showed in this game. How about that?
Yeah, we're
back
up to
34.
Up to 34.
There we
in
go.
This game, and you know, and also some Air Force money did finally show when we were at 10. So back up to 10.5. The game did open 11.5. Numbers here at South Point for college open on Monday morning. Pretty much a steady stream of Navy money during the course of the week. And of course, look, and we know that this is Air Force is the much better side here. But this is where, you know, the academies. These are their games. These are their bowl games, their playoff games, and when they're playing for the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, it's a whole different set of circumstances. So points at a premium initially during the week, but now we finally got some Air Force money.
a lot of action on that total. A lot.
Oh my gosh!
Moving it down and now
Yeah.
back up. That is funny. I stayed away. Jeff got the right number, but you know, I was actually a little nervous with how Air Force has been scoring as of late and averaging 37 points per game.
Yeah.
But I know it's a totally different ballgame when they play against Navy.
Well, Navy, I think, wants to certainly. Navy does not want to get into one of those kind of shootouts, if you will. Not that there's shootouts in the academy games, but you're right, Alex. I mean, that's a good point that Air Force has been scoring some points.
Well, the one interesting thing with this week is Zach Larrier, their quarterback, Air Force's quarterback, suffered a knee injury in that win last week against Wyoming. The initial report was he's going to be out for a while.
Right.
Now he's questionable for today. So a long while could be 1 week. Not even, just a few days off without even missing a game, potentially.
Thankfully, our military folks get the finest medical care in the world, so it's a miracle.
So we'll see on that. It'll be the backup, the senior quarterback, who's only attempted one pass behind Larry, or if he's unable to go today. That's part of the reason that I took this under, because I didn't think Larry was going to go. And now, if he goes, it'll be a little more sweaty than it may want to be.
A little more limited, though.
Yeah. Well, yes, he will not be able to run as well as he usually does. All right, Vinny, we talked about this game yesterday. It's also a game that Alex is on here. Arguably the two best teams in the MAC going at it here. Toledo's a 1.5-point favorite on the road at Miami of Ohio. Before we get Alex's play on this, Vinny, we talked about this yesterday. Chris brought it up. A lot of money line play on the dog here, more so than anything.
Yeah, well, let's look at it, right? And the reason for that is, again, Toledo 1, now up to 2. It's basically a pick'em game. If you're in a game where it's right around 3 or less, right, and you're thinking about taking the points, well, you probably want to sprinkle in some money line on the dog too, right? Now here you have a game where because if you think they're going to cover, you think they can win the game. So instead of laying $1.10, even if you're taking 2 points, and points are valuable, I'm not saying they're not, but you could take anywhere from 15 cents or 20 cents depending on where you're looking. Probably less, maybe a dime or 15 cents at best, maybe 12 cents. But again, you're not laying a price, and that's the reason for it, Alex.
I'm on Miami, Ohio in this one. So to Vinny's point, plus 1.5 and a little bit on the money line.
There you go.
As you mentioned, two of the top teams in the MAC, top of the East, top of the West. Some similarities between these two. Neither have lost since game 1. The biggest difference I found, Toledo 0-5 ATS in their last 5. Miami, Ohio on the other side, they are 6-1 ATS, and 5 of those games were on the road. Now we're getting points here with them back at home. So I like Miami, Ohio, and my chances here, as you mentioned, to win outright.
A really good game. It's a weird spot for Miami of Ohio, at least on my end, where they play Ohio next week, where that game is going to be for the MAC East, regardless of result today. So it's back-to-back weeks where Miami's going to have to get up for this one and next one as well. I think Miami is the better team at the moment. Toledo should have lost last week at Ball State, and Ball State is bad. So I'm going to stay off of it. That's another in-game game, potentially. Seeing how both of those offenses look in that one.
By the way, no movement on the Penn State, Ohio State.
Good.
Point spread, however, the
total
up a full point now since I got in here. 46.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, people like betting points, Vinny. They don't like defense. You know that.
It's a beautiful day there. So, I think, and again, when particularly public gets involved with the total on game day, right? And it's, give me either Penn State and over or Ohio State and over. So
people are not bringing the picket fence in.
Let me tell you, I'll say it again, okay? That big white D and that big white picket fence, and they're chanting, you take the D, I'll take the fence. They're lying. They're lying. People don't like betting unders.
They
love points.
Life is too short to bet the under, as some have said.
Points.
So, all right, Vinny, I want to mention this one, a little bit back in the rotation number. Alex and I didn't bet this one because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position for Duke. Riley Leonard is questionable, but I would imagine that he's probably not going to play today with the way that this has been bet. Back up to 14.5 on the Knowles here with a total of 48.
Yeah. Knowles a little healthier at the wide receiver position. They should be getting some people back today at the wide receiver position too. But I think this is going to be one of the better defenses that Florida State's gone up against, right? And I think especially given the quarterback situation for Duke, they'll probably want to run the ball more. And let's face it, Florida State's run defense is not particularly good. So 14.5 still is there some value? Yeah, with a little better than 2 touchdowns. But listen, the more athletic team is the home team here, and no real surprise that that the number's gone up. And again, 4:30 start, Alex. Probably some things rolling to it. Multi-leg bets rolling to the Noles.
You said it perfectly, Vinny. I mean, Duke does have a good offense, especially their secondary, and they did get a win against NC State with their backup quarterback, but I think this is a different animal here with Florida State and being at home. So no play for me just yet, but you're right. It's a later game.
Yep.
We'll see if Leonard goes. If Leonard does go, Vinny, let's say he plays, what ends up happening here? We know he'll be compromised if he goes.
Sure.
But what ends up happening here?
Well, he's not going to be 100%. So, but I think what kind of gives a bit of a balance to it is the fact that it is a later game and what's happening, what's going to it. So does it go back to 14? Maybe, but still, it's not going to be this drastic.
You don't think it would? If Leonard plays, it's not going to go through the 14. You think?
Well, we're at 14.5.
Right.
Now,
No, I'm saying like it would go to 13.
No, I don't think so. Again, because I think knowing that he's not 100% and the multi-legged aspect going to the Noles there too, being questionable right now tells you that even if he does go, he's not going to be 100%.
And I think even if he plays,
I think
next
it's
week,
unlikely it goes below 14.
I would be surprised if he plays personally.
Yeah.
So and
They have a bye week next week, right?
I'm pretty sure they do.
Good, Alex.
They actually they do not. They play Louisville next week.
Okay, they play Louisville next week, which is an important game. They might want to rest him for.
And if it's a given that he's not going, it'll go higher.
Peak? Do you think peak at 16?
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get all the way to 17.
No,
But
I don't think
16, I think, is in play on that one. All right. One of those fun Big Ten West games here, real quick. Alex, you're on this one. Wisconsin. Quarterback injury, of course. Mordecai's not going to play for the Badgers. And that's why this line has moved the way that it has. Back to 3 now on the Badgers in this one. 41. Illinois coming off a win last week, though.
Yes, they are. I'm on Wisconsin minus 2.5. As you mentioned, Mordecai is out, but we have their backup quarterback, Braden Locke, and this is his first collegiate start. He did come in the second quarter last game, completed 15 of 30 passes for 122 yards. He holds the record in Texas for 6A football, high school football, which is very big in Texas, if you didn't know. Holds the record for touchdown passes. So I'm counting on him to get the job done. We're going to see how he does in this one. And if Illinois beats me, I'll take it. But yes, I laid the points with the Badgers here.
Looks like laying 2.5 and taking 3 in this one, right? And I think there were higher expectations with the coaching change in Wisconsin this year. But look, it's going to take a little bit of time, I think. But I think what surprised people is their offense is not what a lot of folks thought it would be going into the season. And that's why you're seeing the results. This will be a tough one here.
Well, to your point, Vinny, they tried to incorporate the air raid, right? Tried to pass more. Wasn't really working out, kind of going back to their run game. Lost a tough one last week against Iowa, correct? Yeah, 15-6. So we'll see if they can bounce back here.
Jeff had the under in that one. Never in doubt.
I didn't have anything on that one.
Oh, I thought you had the under.
No, if anything, I was going to bet the over, but thankfully I didn't because that game wasn't even close. Speaking of Iowa, let's go there before we look at
We're
something
obligated to go start with the total.
So Vinny, this is 30.5 everywhere but with you guys. You guys have 31, which you got to love 31 being the market high on a college football game.
That's right.
But here we are in 2023 with a 31. By the way, I told Alex this before the show. Some guy on Twitter put in, hey, give me a summary of what this Iowa-Minnesota game is going to be into ChatGPT. You know what that is, Vinny? You know what that is? That's your friends over with AI that can come up with anything. And
great.
And it came up with Iowa 12, Minnesota 10 on a game-winning safety by Iowa, which I think is pretty realistic in this game.
A game-winning safety.
Yes, game-winning safety.
Yeah, well, AI doesn't make prices. Maybe they make scores.
Hey,
but-
they like the under and they like Minnesota today, right?
All right. Well, okay. There you go. 3.5. All about Minnesota here. We opened this game 5.5. So points at a premium. 12:30 Pacific start. Probably see some Iowa money. I mean, if it goes to 3, it's definitely we'll definitely see Iowa money. I don't think that's going to be in doubt. But also to your point, yeah, they bet under 32. And we're at 31, and you mentioned it. There's 30s and 30 and a halves out there. Wow, Alex.
Jeff's disappointed in me because I laid 3.5.
Oh, I'm not disappointed in you.
It is
You
home
just have
team
more
with
fortitude than
such a
I do.
Such a small total. But the Hawkeyes, they keep finding a way in their 3 conference games where they were a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
They are 2-0-1 ATS. We know this is going to be a run-heavy game, and I think Iowa is the better defense here. Very good defense, so I just need them to win by 4.
And I think what you also see here is this, right? When you have such a low total, right, points are even more of a premium. So there's no real surprise here. And again, let's remember that the people that bet this, that took everything from 5.5 down to 3.5, are pros like Alex. That's realizing that with such a low total, points be at a premium. And that's reflected in how it was bet.
Iowa winning this game 6-0, 5-0. Get the safety worked in there. Wouldn't shock me. Minnesota. One thing is Minnesota's defense is really not any good. It's just more. This total is more to do with the fact that we know that Iowa's defense is excellent.
Yeah,
and we know that Iowa's quarterback play is awful. Like, it is, like, no disrespect to Hill, but it's not at an FBS level. It's not barely at an FCS level, in all honesty.
Well, think about this too. Iowa is the 6-1 team that really nobody's talking a whole lot about.
I think there's a reason for that.
Well, listen, they're still 6-1, right? I mean, the fact of the matter is they're already bowl eligible. They're a tough out with defensively. So you know. You don't have to love them, but you do have to, you know.
I mean, Vinny, the way that the schedule breaks, they're going to win the Big Ten West after that win last week.
Yeah.
And
right?
technically,
they could go. They're going to be in the Big Ten title game and have something to say about the playoffs.
No, I mean,
right?
they're going to be favored in every game remaining on their schedule.
All right.
I mean, they did Northwestern in their next game. They're going to be favored there. They get Rutgers in Iowa City. They'll be favored in that one. Yeah, favored against Illinois, and then at Nebraska, which they'll be a favorite in Lincoln for that one as well.
Favorite, although Nebraska's playing better,
playing much better.
Now, when I say they're going to have something to say about the playoff, it's because of the playoff game for the Big Ten. So,
well, I mean, again, technically, if Iowa's 11-1 to the Big Ten title game, they'll be technically playing for a playoff spot.
There you go, buddy.
Despite being against Michigan right now on a neutral? What would you make it right now? Michigan against Iowa on a neutral in Indy, if that's the matchup.
Probably about 16.
Yeah, I was thinking 17. Yeah.
So not 17. It might get to 17.
Oh, I think it would get to 17.
Okay.
That would be one of those where we bet the Iowa team total under in that game, regardless of what it is.
Absolutely.
I don't think they're scoring more than 7 against Michigan, but hey, that could even be a 6.5 total, in all honesty, on that one. All right, Vinny, before you go, any other games that stand out in the way of movement here in the leading up to this 9 a.m. window?
Let's see. Well, a small one here, Hawaii and New Mexico. Hawaii getting the betting. It's a flip of favorites, right? So 373, 4 and 74 on the rotation, 3 o'clock Pacific start, where New Mexico opened as a 2-point favorite. And now Hawaii's sitting at 2.5. And you say, why that game? Well, again, that's a game that pros got involved with, pro bettors got involved with more. And when you have a flip of favorites, then you want to take note of that. So that's been money that's not just showing up this morning on game day, but showing up all week. And then waiting for a buyback on Army against LSU, which is the last game on the rotation. Army getting 32.5 right now, probably get up to 33 or more.
It feels like so many points to be giving a team that
Well,
plays ball control against a team with
Okay,
no defense.
With no defense, yeah.
Right.
And I think that folks are waiting to play that game and waiting for as many points as possible, and you might get some more.
I thought it was good at 30.5. I think it's really good at 32.5.
Then you're gonna love 33.
I'm sure I will until until LSU wins 38-3. I'm sure I will. Vinny Magliulo, everyone. Vinny, go do your day job.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go. Yeah, do some more. And Alex, everything's fine.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Chrissy loves you.
I think we're good. Vinny Magliulo, everyone. Coming up next, Danny Burke hops
Thanks,
in.
Vin.
Talk some more college football, leading you up to kickoff at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific here on Sports by the Book.
South Point is also proud to provide a variety of relaxing amenities for the guests who want to be pampered. Soak up the sun and let your stress melt away in our lagoon-style paradise swimming pool. A relaxing getaway where you can bask in the desert sun and enjoy seasonal food and bar service poolside. And if you really want to escape, come to Spa Costa del Sur. From couple suites to a co-ed wet area, our spa caters to business and leisure travelers who want to unwind and elevate their senses. A visit to one of our spa's steam, sauna, or whirlpool treatment rooms will leave any guest feeling like they can take on the world. Our gaming amenities include over 60 table games and over 2,600 of the most popular slot and video poker machines. We have penny slots, including the popular Buffalo games, and real machines like Wheel of Fortune, Triple Sevens, and Megabucks. If you prefer video poker, try Deuces Wild, Double Double Bonus, or a variety of multi-denomination games. Or try your hand at one of the most popular casino table games in the world, Blackjack. Don't let the game intimidate you. Blackjack, also known as 21, is both easy and fun. And our dealers are always happy to assist. And the best part? Blackjack always pays 3 to 2. Next, check out the roulette tables. Roulette is one of the easiest casino games to learn, and so much fun to play. It's a favorite of both beginners and seasoned players. In addition to blackjack and roulette, our casino pit features over 60 popular table games like Baccarat, Pai Gow Poker, 3-Card Poker, Ultimate Texas Hold'em, and Mississippi Stud. So get out of your room and come join in the fun.
Welcome back in. It's Sports by the Book. Final segment for us here at the South Point studio. I'm Jeff Parles, Alex White, alongside Danny Burke back in studio. Saw him on Thursday here on this show. As always, good job by our guy Vincenzo, best hair in the business, Vinny Magliulo, who we're actually going to let Vinny do his day job a little bit now here at the network, which is, I think, is a good thing.
Yeah, we love having him in here, of course, but we know he gets busy back there. I was kind of shocked to hear the flip and all the money still coming on Hawaii.
Yeah, that
So he
that
always
was one
does
of
drop some that are just like, oh, okay.
that was one of those games I crossed off immediately because I don't like either of those teams. But it's almost like, I guess almost like I have to take a little piece of New Mexico, but I don't want to do that. It just doesn't sound like a fun way to spend your day with that one a little bit later. So, all right, let's get into it here. BYU and Texas Tech. Danny, Alex, and I are all on this game in some fashion. DB, we'll start with you. You're on the total here in this one.
Yeah, I am not looking too great with my position currently because at the beginning of the week, I took over 51.5, and the market was moving in that direction, and I figured that was with the assumption that Morton had a good chance to play. Now, I haven't seen anything from the last 5 minutes, but still game time decision as far as I'm concerned. But nevertheless, again, not a great sign per se. But the reason, aside from assuming he was going to be in the mix, you look at the time of possession for these teams, guys, and BYU ranks 109th in terms of time of possession, Texas Tech at 120th. So really, you're seeing a frequent change of possession, right? Rapid pace between the two teams, which should benefit the over. And BYU offensively this season has not cared to run the ball whatsoever. They're only getting about 67.5 rushing yards per game. And if Morton was playing too, I give the edge to the Red Raiders in this spot. So BYU is going to have to pass the ball even more. So was my analysis on their side. Also, again, we've seen that already primarily this season throughout their offensive side of the ball. And then Texas Tech offensively with Morton, pretty good. You know, I wouldn't say they're great by any stretch of the imagination, but against a weaker BYU defense, I think they were going to manage to put up some points. So that led me toward the over. But again, it's moved against me now later in the week, so I'm stuck in my position for the time being. We'll see if any in-game opportunity presents itself, but that's what I had for this spot.
Very good breakdown. I agree with you with that Texas Tech offense. Very good with Morton. And they have a running back, Brooks. He's the focal point. And with him throwing, it allows them to work him in to their offense. I was under the assumption he was not playing, and I jumped on BYU plus 4.5 because it does make it more difficult to get their run game going here. Texas Tech fell apart without Morton last week. They lost that game. BYU, it's a tough place to play. First time that these Big 12 teams are having to go to Provo. So I like the points here with the home team.
Difficult spot to play. Texas Tech was in that game for a good chunk of it last week, and then the wheels came off completely when they had to go to Jake Strong, who led it was one of those, he led the 99-yard drive to give Texas Tech the lead in the third quarter, and because I was on K-State last week, I was thinking, we're gonna lose to the third-string quarterback on a team that's really not that good, and then they gave up 5 rushing touchdowns to Avery Johnson last week, so ended up being okay there. BYU can't run the ball. They are a horrible running team, as Danny said. They're also they have played to the over all but one game this year, but it's more so because of what you mentioned. There are a lot of possessions in BYU games because they're going 3 and out a ton.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of possessions, which gives you more opportunity to score points. I don't mind over 51 that's out there right now, but I grabbed 4.5 earlier in the week as well at BYU. I don't think Texas Tech should be a favorite on the road against anyone in conference at this point. So that's really the only reason that I took it. Not that I like BYU much, just that Texas Tech, really, favorite on the road, even with all the struggles the new Big 12 teams have had, shouldn't be happening in that one at 4.5. All right, Alex, you're the UNLV alum. I'll let you have it. A win today for Barry Odom's squad, and they're going bowling, which is pretty amazing to say that after 7 games, they could be bowl eligible for what that program has been for the longest of times.
It really is amazing. And that is a huge accomplishment for this team. That's why I like the Rebels here to get the win. I did not lay the points. I took them money line. I shouldn't even be betting on my team. You two, I got to follow in your example. But, I mean, Colorado State, that makes me nervous. They've been a feisty team. I mean, they have proven it. They've had a couple comeback wins, including last week.
The miracle of miracles.
Yes, exactly. So I'm happy with the money line. As you mentioned, though, this is a really big game for them. You know that they know they're 5-1. They just need one more. So I think they're going to take it very seriously and be up for the challenge.
Give Barry Odom a lot of credit. Of course, I was there in Missouri when he was the head coach there. They covered all but one of his seasons, and it always felt like for me that Barry was. This should have been the first job. Something like this, a UNLV, a Memphis, where he was linked to that job a lot.
Right.
Part of the reason he got the Missouri job was they were concerned that he was going to take the Memphis job when it opened up, when Fuente went to Virginia Tech. But this is a perfect spot for Barry Odom. He's a really great coach of defense, and for this level, the Mountain West level, he's a really good head coach. I don't know if he's a high-end Power 5 head coach, but he's a really good mid-major head coach. And UNLV, if he can stick around, he'll win the Mountain West sooner rather than later, as wild as that sounds. And this is an easy place to should be, in theory, an easy place to recruit to, Alex.
Oh, yeah, and they've done it correct. I mean, their new facility is beautiful. They're playing at Allegiant Stadium. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to come play here, but you are right. I think they can win the Mountain West very soon. They are right up there with Air Force and Fresno State right now.
Yeah, I don't think it happens this year because they have to go to Fresno and to Colorado Springs to take on Air Force. I think 2 losses in conference probably is going to knock you out. I think there'll be a team with 1 loss, and I don't think Air Force is losing in conference. So, but hey, look, you go 9-3 at UNLV. That's pretty darn good. Any way you slice it. All right, let's.
It's been 10 years. since they've been to a bowl game, by the way.
I'm surprised it's been that short, in all honesty. Let's
fair.
let's go to LA next, Alex. You're on this one. One of your money line parlay legs here with USC at home against Utah. Up to 7, total 52 on this one.
Love USC in this spot. I mean, double revenge against Utah because they won the first game last year, 43-42, and then they won here in Las Vegas, the Pac-12 championship. Then, of course, we have the Trojans coming off an embarrassing 48-20 loss to Notre Dame. I think they're going to be ready for this game. It is in Southern California. Caleb Williams, he had 3 picks last week, I believe. So I think this is a good turnaround spot for him. Get focused again. He's no longer the favorite for the Heisman. And Utah, so I am on USC. I also like the over here. Call me crazy. It has moved down a lot, but I like the over here. I don't think Utah gets shut out. I know we still don't have Cam Rising, which is a shame. I don't think we're going to see him all season long. But Utah's coming off their biggest win, 34 points. I know it's over Cal. Not the best defense, but I still think they can move the ball, get a couple touchdowns here.
Yeah, I'm with Alex in this one. I haven't played it yet, but I absolutely lean toward the side of the Trojans here if you're getting it under the key number of 7. Look, without Cam Rising in the mix, this offense has been abysmal. Dead last in terms of the Pac-12 and EPA offensively. The ranking bottom tier in the nation, 115th in total offense. And USC, we know how tremendous they are offensively. We don't have to go into the stats. Knowing what Caleb Williams and Lincoln Riley can produce on that side of the ball. Of course, the concern with USC is their abysmal defense, but I think that's going to be a problem toward the beginning stages of this game. But once they get acclimated, once they get settled in a little bit, I think they'll be able to maintain this Utah offense, that, again, has just been incredibly lackluster. So even if it's close in this game, we know USC is a team that frequently finds their way in the red zone. I think, again, if it's close, USC has a great opportunity to put in 6. Extra point makes it 7 toward the end of the game, even if you're sweating this thing out. So, again, that's why if you get it under 7, I do believe the Trojans bounce back and are the right side.
Moving along to the other Pac-12 games on the slate. Alex, you have a total in Seattle, Washington, and Arizona State. But this has moved up in the recent times here, up to 60 on this total now. I will say quickly, I do have Arizona State first half in this game. Maybe a slow start for Washington after that humongous win a week ago. I don't mind Arizona State at 27.5, but when you're dealing against an offense like Washington, you are asking for potential problems once Arizona State runs out of gas, which will happen at some point in this game.
What did you get Arizona State at for first half?
17.
17. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so I have a play on over 58.5. As you mentioned, it's kind of been going up. The Sun Devils, they've dealt with a lot of injuries, but somehow they've averaged 24 points in their past 3 games. I do think we might see a slow start to Washington, especially offensively, but I think they get it figured out. That's a big line there. 27.5. Is that where it still is?
27.5, yes.
So I didn't go on either side because I think it is just right. So I like the over here.
I've got nothing in this one. I like both of your guys' analysis. I think if I had to go in a direction, I really like, Jeff, though, what you're saying about the first half and just thinking Washington kind of comes into this game a little bit more lackadaisically, and they're pretty content with their result last week. You're overlooking Arizona State. You're going, we don't have to worry about these guys. No problem. So, in the fact that you're getting 17 on that first half spread is, a great number there. So, that's probably the pursuit I would make if I were to play this game. But I've got nothing for that late spot.
Let's go to Central Florida and Oklahoma here. Alex, you're on a total. I'm on Central Florida from earlier in the week. Now, Oklahoma is 17.5 behind us, which is the market high. It's mostly 17 throughout the market. Total actually has been bet down this morning to 67.5. Of course, that is up still from the opener.
Right. I have over 64. Both these teams coming off
Good
of
number.
bye. Dylan Gabriel, he continues for quarterback for Oklahoma, continues to put up incredible numbers. He is 72.7 completing his passes, 9.6 yards per attempt, and 16 touchdowns. Hopefully the Knights get a healthy Plumlee back. I think he is playing.
He's playing.
Correct.
He's in.
We just don't know how healthy.
Yep.
So, I went thought it was a great number. Jumped on it, then over 64.
Yeah, Plumlee played one series in Lawrence 2 weeks ago, then couldn't finish the game. Now he's back. I think that's a big reason. There's a few reasons I think that I like. There are two reasons I like Central Florida, and I think they're probably market wide on this. Plumlee's back, and I would imagine after the bye week, he's going to at least look 90% healthy. And this is a weird spot for Oklahoma because you had to run a bye last week. But the last time we saw them, Dylan Gabriel was leading a 75-yard drive in 50 seconds to beat Texas. So first game after the biggest win of the Venables era by a significant margin, Danny. It is a sleepy spot potentially off the bye for Oklahoma.
Yeah, I would think so too. And Alex, again, like Jeff said, great number on the total because that would have been the only direction I would have went toward in this spot. But considering it's moved, from where you even got it, like 4 points, I think there's no point in chasing that movement right now. If you do like the over, just wait for an in-game spot. Perhaps there's going to be an exchange of possessions. Maybe, maybe not. I know you won't be rooting for that necessarily, but as someone who's trying to get that angle in-game, that's what I'll be hoping for and try to attack it from that standpoint. But again, no need to chase it because of how much it's altered since where Alex got it, and maybe even before that.
Let's get Arkansas and Mississippi State. Alex, another total that you like here. This is a game that I crossed off immediately because I don't like either of these teams. Arkansas 7. Total is 46 in this one.
So lean to the over in this one as well. I'm kind of getting a little nervous. This is a lot of overs. Benny and Chris maybe thanking me now, huh? People are following me. But, Mississippi State, they had an extra week to prepare. Mm-hmm. But they do have back-to-back road games here. So I want to see if they can build off of their win over Western Michigan. I don't have too much on this. I jumped in over 47.5, small play there.
I can't do anything with this game. Arkansas, I'm stunned at Arkansas. Those looked as bad as they have. They're 2-4. Mississippi State, a program in transition, of course, with the passing of Mike Leach last year. It's a program that is going to probably be looking at a new head coaching hire after the interim is done at the end of this year. All right, let's get this one. Get three more before we get out of here today. Tennessee on the road at Alabama. So Chris and company have the market low on this game now at 8.5. It's the rest of the market's 9 right now on this one. Total's down to 47.5. Alex, I will tell you, I like Tennessee getting 9. We kind of talked about this yesterday, where I don't know what I'm getting out of Alabama, which is a very weird place to be with that program. They're very inconsistent this year, and last week was the perfect sign of that. They looked awesome. They looked like a team that could win a national title for 2.5 quarters last week, and then they just stopped, and they let a mediocre Arkansas team have a chance to beat them in their building. Tennessee better than Arkansas. I will say, though, it is a rivalry game that Alabama did lose a year ago at Neyland Stadium.
I love a good revenge factor, so I am on Alabama here, minus 8.5. I don't trust Tennessee's quarterback with Joe Milton. Even ratio, big-time throws to turnover-worthy plays. He is also just 8 for 35 when passing over 20 yards. I think that is going to be the biggest difference here. Lack of explosive plays for Tennessee. I mean, two good defenses, though. I should have looked to the under, but I am on Alabama. I also tied them up with Ohio State. These are two money lines.
I'm kind of with Jeff on this one, Alex, but the reason I stayed away is because of, like you said, one, I don't know how much stock I'm actually putting into Milton against a really solid defense, and two, the revenge factor certainly plays in this spot, but Tennessee's defense has been almost as good as Alabama so far this season. They're right behind them in a lot of these statistical measurements, and offensively, I mean, Tennessee's not that far behind either, but again, it just feels like one of those spots where Alabama is going to get that revenge, and you put maybe a little bit more of that faith in Milroe in this spot and what he can do with his feet and Mobley and just having that chip on their shoulder for the Crimson Tide. But if I were to do it, maybe if for someone, I guess, out there who's gravitating toward Alabama, not fully confident, I like your idea of maybe putting in a couple favorites like that with an Ohio State, maybe with the USC with Bama tied in so you don't have to sweat out the higher spread, because I do like the points with Tennessee, but I think Bama does find a way in this game. but I don't like taking the points enough to actually get there with it because that revenge factor is kind of scaring me off here, guys.
Let's go to this one because we're contractually obligated with Danny on set. Nebraska hosting Northwestern. Boy, what a game. Down to 10.5, down with a total of 40. Huskers laying it at home.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, Alex apparently is betting this game, so credit to you, Alex. You're going to have to sweat it out on the betting side for me. I get it from the fandom approach, but yeah, look, Northwestern 106 in the nation in run defense. That's all Nebraska's doing offensively with their ground attack, with their tailbacks, but especially with their quarterback, Heinrich Harburg. I think it's going to be a slow process. Nebraska will control the time of possession, and like I was talking to the other show, you and I talked about it off break. They'll cover probably, but you're going to have to wait till the fourth quarter to get there, I think.
And I watched you on the show on Thursday. I heard you say that, made me feel even more confident about my Nebraska minus 11 play. I'll sweat it out. Just get there at the end for me.
Godspeed. That's all I'll say on that one. There's no chance I'm betting this game. No way I can get there either way. All right, the last one we'll do, and then now we're contractually obligated for myself.
Yes.
Missouri against South Carolina here. Homecoming in Columbia. Mo, this one has been a toggler here at the South Point. 7.5 to 7, back to 7.5 now on Missouri. That's what the market is now on the Tigers at home. Alex, total 58. I'm a little surprised, actually, that this total has been bet down from 60 to 58. I know Missouri's defense has had its good showings at times, but South Carolina's defense stinks. And it would not, and I don't mind that South Carolina offense. I actually think the over might be the best play in this game now that we're coming back a little bit and getting a 58, which I didn't expect to get.
So that's exactly where I made it, 58. No play on the total. I actually don't have a play in this one because if you have been watching our show, which thank you, and we appreciate it, but
absolutely,
I have been on South Carolina and Mizzou the last few weeks. Now they're playing each other. I'm kind of torn here. I lean to Mizzou because my numbers say it, but I can't do it because I can't believe South Carolina is a 2-4 team. I mean, they've had a couple really tough losses that they could have won for sure.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like the way Mizzou bounced back after losing to LSU, getting a solid win against Kentucky on the road. But it's just something almost like my alma mater, Nebraska, to where you're feeling good about your team. And
I know where you're coming,
buddy. They pull you right in, and then they disappoint you and make it incredibly painful. But I think you make a valid point about this total coming down. I think that's the way I would look at it, especially since you're getting a better price on it. Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing points in this one, and that's how I would bet it if I were getting involved in it.
Yeah, the South Carolina team should be better than they are. They played Georgia really tough for a half, and then Georgia decided to wake up and annihilated them in the second half. But, I mean, that loss last week was brutal. Yeah. It was a brutal loss that they took at home to Florida. You let Graham Mertz throw for over 400 yards on you. Kind of deserve to lose the game when that happens. But, yeah, South Carolina is better than the record shows, but Missouri's just better. And they'll get it done. I think Mizzou gets it done, but I can't lay the hook. You could have laid 7, but you can't lay 7.5.
Correct.
Now with Missouri. All right. We went a little bit over, but that's okay. That's all the time we have here for the day. You and I are back tomorrow, Alex.
Back tomorrow.
Sunday, an NFL show for Week 7. Danny, thank you for hopping in. Big thanks, as always, to Vinny Maliulo. Shout out to the crew today, Sean, Ryan, Jerry. Great work, as always. I'm Jeff Parles. We'll see you again tomorrow on Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio.